everyone to the channel. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell for new video notifications.
Hey everyone, it's Casey Chatman, and I'm here with my husband and author, Tracey Chatman.
Hello everyone.
Who is the author of the Misfits, the heroes no one expected. So today we're going to do a little Q&A, and we want to share with you a little bit of insight about just where he was when he started with the process of the book.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I want to ask you, babe, is what inspired you to write the Misfits?
This book was definitely a project of love. God inspired me. He gave me the book. It was right after I had written Unshakable, my first book.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that I was going to go on a little hiatus and kind of just figure out the marketing and all the things that I didn't know at the time after I written the book, how to promote it and things of that nature. So I'm thinking that this is my first book and I got to give it room to breathe and everything. But it was last year, August time frame, and we had just started our 21 days of prayer for the back to school season and everything. And I was praying earnestly for us to be debt free and just have all of our bills paid for during that time, and just was petitioning God for that. And he gave me a book idea. It was late that night. I remember being in the bathroom, like, getting ready for bed. And I'm thinking like, man, God, this is really good. It's like an adventure book. And it's like, man, this is really, really good. I need to write this down. And I've been kind of diligent in whenever God has given me an idea or whenever an idea pops up, I will go to my notes and my phone and just start jotting it down. Well, that night, like I wrote like 4 or 5 pages of what God had was giving me at the time, like the nuances of the characters and everything. And I was like, wow, this is going to be a great book. And I closed my phone. I went to bed finally, and I woke up the next day. Everything was good. And like not even 24 hours later, God was reminding me, so I thought you wanted to be debt free.
Hmm.
I thought you wanted to have enough money so that you could do ministry full time and not have to worry about expenses. It's like, yeah, I gave you a book. I gave you $1 million book, but you sitting on it. And I'm like, wow, okay. So my little break that I thought that I was taking to really, explore writing and doing all those things was short lived. So I immediately started writing the book either that day or the very next day.
Gotcha. Yes. I remember very, very vividly.
Mm-hmm.
So, babe, how long would you say that it took you to write this book, and what was your process like?
So it took me roughly 4 months to write it. And for a book this size, that's a miracle. Anybody ever wrote a book and got characters and a whole backstory that you had to develop and all of that? It took a lot, but it was a everyday type of journey. It was me putting in some real hours in writing because at the time I had stopped working, so this was what I was doing. I was every day, this was my job to go in and write. And the hardest part was coming up with an outline, which was basically turning to my table of content. So that was the most difficult part of it. But once that's done, once you have a beginning and an end, and everything else is just filling in the blanks. And the crazy part was God had given me 7 different characters that I had to develop. That wasn't enough. So I introduced more characters later on in the book that just, it was all God given, because I'm just writing and just trying to be obedient at this point with the outline that he gave me the first night. And so that turned into something altogether crazy. Now I got to create another backstory and two more books just to express the whole series that we're getting into with the Misfits. So it's been a wild journey.
Yeah. And you definitely you took a dive into it head first, and you
Hmm.
you were really working hard on this. So my
Yeah.
next question for you is, in the first chapter, there are 3 locations that you talk about,
Hmm.
and there's a faint vibration in each one of those locations. So what can you share with your readers about the faint vibration, and um, just some information that they otherwise may have missed about it?
The vibrations represent the voice of God. It's a warning, it's a heed that a lot of us miss because um, it feels out of the blue, but then it doesn't feel so different that it causes a hard pause where you want to investigate, like you want to get curious about it. And so we'll miss it. And it happens throughout the Bible. You know, that small, still voice he talks
Mhm.
about that's being talked about in the Bible. Sometimes it come in the form of a burning bush. Sometimes a donkey talk to you. Sometimes, like in the case with Samuel and Eli, it was through a dream, a vision. He heard his name, right?
Yeah.
So that's First Samuel chapter 3. You can read about that. But in that vision, in the dream, it was God was calling Samuel's name, and he thought it was Eli. And so he would go to Eli and ask, "Hey, did you call me?" And finally, the third time, he came up and there and said, "Hey, if he call you again, that's the voice of God. You should answer. You know, here I am."
Mhm.
And so, and that's what he did. But it starts the conversation. Not everybody's going to be curious enough to go to a Eli to say, "Hey, this is what's going on." It's just if we talk about it, it's more of a gossip. Like, "Girl, did you hear that rumbling and all that?" It's not like that curious thing that you seek God for and be like, "Hey, yeah, what's going on with this?" You
Mhm.
know. Um, so that's the hum noise. That's the hum that people, most people would look over, but you'll see later on some people didn't.
Right. And I really
Hmm.
like the way that, in there you have how different people responded to the hum.
Hmm.
Some people were kind of like, huh, did you hear that? Some people
Yeah.
just, they just carried on,
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
so that's good. I like how you put that in there. All right. So my next question for you is,
Hmm.
let's just talk about why it was important for you to do this interview right now. An interview right
Hmm.
now, considering that the first chapter was just, it was pretty short. It was short.
Yeah. Well, if you got in the book, if you hadn't, you could pick that up in a link below. So just definitely want to get that plug. And we decided to put this book offer this book for free because a lot of people like me, auditory and visual learners, and some people just don't want to pick up a book and have that time span to do, to read and stay, and keep up with it, right? So I wanted to do interviews like this to catch the nuances of the book, to catch those things like the hum that some people would just read over and be like, "Oh, okay, that's nice," and waiting to get to the next part where the action picks up and so on and so forth. And even though this is a adventure type or action book, definitely a fiction novel,
Hmm.
um, I just wanted to be, if I can pick up some of the backstory and some of what God was giving to me at the time, then I think that you once you read it or once you hear it, that it'll set differently in your spirit, and you begin to see how God is moving in this thing, and not just on the surface level.
Gotcha. That's
Hmm.
good, babe. Well, you know what, you all, we really appreciate you joining us. And all I'm going to say is stay tuned. We have so much more in store for you, and
Hmm.
chapter 2 will be out soon. Have a blessed day.
Yeah, and if I can say one thing to follow up, just in closing, we all got disabilities. We all got shortcomings. Some stand out more than others. And just speaking on my life in particular, just struggling with some dyslexia in my life and just having to learn differently and having to view things differently has become my superpower.
Mhm.
And in it, I wanted to highlight people with disabilities, which is what God wanted to do. I didn't even have a hand in it. He been leading me this way for a long time now that I'm thinking about it. From the time that we partnered with friends of ours, my brothers and sister Otis and Brandon. Shouts out to them. Um, they started a nonprofit which had a transportation piece to it, where we transported people with mental and physical disabilities to University of Memphis to do a job program, so they can get on the job training and then get placed in jobs. And so we dealt with that. I've dealt with people in mental health crisis as a police officer, and then I've dealt with small kids, young kids in ministry, and I guess God had been working me up to this point to be able to write this book, to be able to show these superpowers that people have that we tend to look at as just something that keeps them from doing something,
Mhm.
but is actually the power in which God gives us to do more than what the average person would normally consider. Because my dyslexia is my superpower. My ability to read and scan at a different level. I can pick up things, nuances and things in a book that most people, by the time you get to the second paragraph, you're not interested anymore. But I read from the bottom up. So I already knew what the end was going to be. Like, God made that my superpower, and how I process things. And even if you did a little short Google search or AI search on dyslexia and all of that, we're creative. We creative. You got to be creative in order to, because you think differently, because you view things differently. Because my eyes go from right to left instead of left to right. Like, it's crazy the way my mind work. And my wife will tell you, I'm in my head most of the time.
Mhm.
And I might not say anything for long periods of time because I just saw the beginning and the end, like,
Processing.
of any little thought. I don't let it go. I just, like, let me marinate on it. Let me sit right there and really think about what you're trying to give me in this thing, God. And so just knowing that little bit about myself and about the process, a little backstory about me and everything, I think that going forward you would hopefully see yourself in some of these characters,
Mhm.
see people that you know in some of these characters, and really start to get into it. Like my wife said, chapter 2 is coming out pretty soon, and with each chapter we want to do these follow-up interviews and just give you some insight of where things was going, where things are at, and just give you updates about us, right?
Absolutely.
All right, and our journey, so stay tuned to this channel. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and leave a comment. Those comments help. It help us
Absolutely.
get noticed by more people. Hit that share button. Share it on all of your social media devices, because we are making a presence in the whole YouTube verse, whatever you want to call it, right? So we here now. We here. It took
We are
us a
here.
a while to get here, but we here now, and hopefully you're coming on with us for the ride. We love you.
Love
Peace out.
you. Bye.